Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul, hope you're having an amazing day. Intel's Arrow Lake processors have had almost the entirety of their specifications leaked online for the various SKUs and clock frequencies, so we're going to get into that in just a moment, but I do want to begin this video actually discussing Zen 6 and Zen 7, because for the first time, AMD have actually given us a few details, scant as they may be, about these processors, and I can combine that with a few things that my own sources have been stating as well as some other rumours. So first things first, of course at this point everyone knows that AMD have officially started to disclose the details for Zen 5, and recently they hosted an architecture day basically going over the Zen 5 processor architecture, but also gave us an updated roadmap. In this roadmap you can see Zen 6 and Zen 6C. Unfortunately in the roadmap they were not exactly being detailed in terms of performance targets or any of that stuff, basically just, oh look, there's this core and this other core. They are basically updated variants of these cores that we've seen previously. Now, it's worth noting that AMD have once again doubled down and said that AM5 is going to be officially supported until a minimum of 2027. So we can basically put our Sherlock cap on and say, well, almost certainly Zen 6 or Ryzen, what is it going to be? Ryzen 10,000? I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think is going to be called. Anyway, that of course is going to be on the AM5 platform. Now, to my understanding, Zen 6 is still going to be retaining 8 cores, 16 threads per CCD. So if you are hoping that, let's say it's going to be, I don't know, like 12 cores per CCD or something like that, that does not seem to be the case. Medusa, which is basically the SOC name for the processors, is also going to have a lot of uniformity between the desktop and the laptops, with some caveats, and there are going to of course be different variants which are going to have you know changes here or changes there, but ultimately speaking, very generally here, you can basically think of this as a lot more Intel-like in its approach. Obviously there will be things like you can't just, I don't know, take the desktop processor and plonk it into your laptop, because, well, the socket alone is not going to support it, but you kind of get the the idea here. What is very interesting though is that the early reports that I've been receiving anyway is that the actual processor cores themselves, so the actual CPU cores to be very clear, are not as changed as Zen 4 to Zen 5. Now, it is very possible that simply all of the changes have not started to emerge yet. After all, these processors are not exactly in final retail form, and that is putting it mildly. But it seems that the major innovation of Zen 6 is essentially going to be the packaging, I/O die, that type of thing. And I've mentioned this before in a video maybe like 2 or 3 months ago, I can't exactly remember at this point. But it's essentially like Sarlacc was the prototype. Sarlacc, of course, is going to be the high-end Strix Point processor, which is most likely going to be shown off at, I was about to say Computex, what's the, CS, thank you, brain. So there are some changes. You can't exactly say it's a one-to-one, but it's going to be a very interesting design. And this is, of course, in an effort to improve bandwidth and stuff like that, because, again, we are looking at the AM5 platform. DDR5 is going to be a thing. It's going to be very interesting to see how performant Zen 6 is over Zen 5. I don't have any IPC figures at this point. It's way too early for that. My guess is it's going to be kind of okay, but there's probably going to be some clock frequency bumps. However, that is putting a guess out there. That is not confirmed information or anything like that. But in the same event, while AMD publicly have only stated about Zen 6 and Zen 6C, in the roadmap verbally they also stated that Zen 7 is underway. They gave absolutely no details other than the team are now hard at work and it's kind of early in the design bring-up, which of course, again, you would expect, given Zen 6 is probably not going to be releasing until like some point in 2026. However, speculatively, Computerbase are guessing that Zen 7 is going to be on the AM6 platform. Now, I think that that's probably a good guess. AMD actually did kind of give a small hint to this in an interview. They said, and I quote, "We wanted to clarify one of the comments. made on stage during the engineering roundtable. During the session, Joe made a comment on 4 generations of CPU support for the AM5's platform. It was meant to be a hypothetical to prompt discussion, as opposed to starting fresh at the platform each time. As a note to Computex, we will remain committed that AM5 platform will be supported throughout 2027 plus. Computer Base are also speculating that AM6 is going to be bringing with it DDR6 as well as, updated PCIe and all of that jazz. I don't really have a whole heap of information here, to be very honest with you guys. I have asked around, and some people, and this was a while back admittedly, some people are agreeing that Zen 7 is going to be based on a new platform, but whether it's going to actually have DDR6 or, whatever, it's not really known at this point. As far as I understand it, DDR6 is going to be shown off first in service because obviously, well, DDR6 is probably going to be pretty expensive, blah, blah, blah. But as for its impact on the mainstream, it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes. I'll be quite curious to see what actual changes are made for Zen 7, whether AMD are going to continue to push SMT or whether they're going to be going the Intel route and get rid of SMT and kind of going, guns blazing on just single thread stuff. Honestly, who the hell knows at this point? It's very, very hard to know, and AMD themselves probably haven't 100% decided that anyway. Now I want to give you guys a quick update to Intel's Arrow Lake processors. As you know, Intel have not officially given us all of the details, and that's putting it mildly, for Intel's Arrow Lake CPUs. The rumor is that we are going to see them launching in October, and we actually have a few updated specifications courtesy of Jakin on Twitter. I'm not going to read out all of them because I'll just be here for the next 6 years, but ultimately speaking, you can see that we're looking at 8 plus 16 plus 4. The 4, by the way, are the number of XD cores. 16, of course, are the energy efficient cores, and, well, obviously 8 would be the performance cores. And things start to become kind of complicated when you go down to the Core Ultras. And obviously, for example, you can see there's a 6 plus 8 plus 4 configuration, and so on and so on. Now, in a separate series of tweets, someone else was stating that we're looking at 5.7 gigahertz for the single thread clock frequency for Intel. Basically, I do believe that this is all correct. About a week ago now, I can't remember the exact date, but yeah, around a week ago, I did put out a video from my sources, and I leaked many of the specifications, and, well, you can see them on screen. I'm not going to, again, verbally repeat them all. It's possible that the model names will be changed, but, for example, the Ultra 9 285K is 816 on the N3B process, and we're looking at, again, as I stated, up to 5700 megahertz single core. I was told it's between 10 and 40% over older generations in terms of multi-thread at 125 watts, and DDR5 at 6400, and again October. So thanks to the sources, of course, that gave me that information. I don't still really know how well Intel and AMD are going to fare against one another. At this stage, it's quite difficult to be 100% certain because we are not looking at final retail silicon with Intel, for example, and BIOS revisions can have a big impact on things. If I had to guess, it's going to be very much an application-by-application basis. Intel, for example, might do very well in multi-thread. AMD may do better in things like heavy AVX, like AVX 512. So if you do like PS3 emulation, you'll probably be winning. If you're running Zen 5 single thread, maybe AMD will have the advantage, and so on and so on. Ultimately, again, without knowing exactly what, let's put it this way, until reviewers actually have the processors in their hand and they can test things across a variety of different scenarios with graphics cards and all of that stuff that they can configure and test and blah blah blah, it's very difficult to know. So I would just personally wait. It's very interesting to speculate, but I wouldn't be exactly decisive at this point. Single core performance, though, I think Intel are going to do well. They're definitely going to be doing better than what we have with current processors. But ultimately, I think AMD probably will be pipping them, to the post. One last thing in terms of this video, I just want to mention real briefly, Intel's Bartlett Lake has also been leaked. And there's not much to say about this. I'd already mentioned about Bartlett Lake. I think I was the first to leak Bartlett Lake. I'm not 100% certain. Quite some time ago. However, at that point I said it was for the LGA 1700 platform. It may be coming to gamers, but it wasn't 100% confirmed at that point. It doesn't look like it is. It looks like it's going to be remaining for edge case scenarios, which is unfortunate. It's not going to be released for a while now. Basically, it is a refresh. However, the major difference is that there are no E-cores, so it's going to be P-cores only, which is a shame. I had heard some early plans that there would maybe be some big changes on the caches or something like that, but it doesn't look like that's the case, unfortunately. It's going to be a cool architecture, a cool processor, but ultimately it doesn't really benefit us as gamers too much. And that's just about it, guys. You might also notice I'm sitting in a fancy smancy new chair, which is actually a Habeda one. I will be kind of, testing this out and probably putting a video out soon. I actually received this chair because, ironically, I'm actually doing kind of like an office makeover, as some of you probably have noticed. There's been like some stuff going on in the background, like new monitor and all that stuff. So yeah, they actually offered to send this chair over to me, so I'll be kind of like checking it out anyway in a separate video. But for now, it feels pretty comfortable. But yeah, I'll kind of give a report. It took me like, some of today to put together, so I've only been sitting in it for a little bit, so I still need to adjust it a little bit more, but I'll let you know. With that said, take care of yourselves, have an amazing day. Bye for now.